Hello, what's going on? Doug Cunnington here. This is the live stream for the week. Welcome. We're going to talk about niche sites and probably keyword research, affiliate marketing in general. I'll tell some stories, probably most likely unrelated to any of the topics that we talk about on the channel. Thanks for hopping in here. Let me know if you could hear me. Say hello and let me know where you're from. If you have questions, you can put them right in the chat there. I will come around to them. I'll kind of jump in and jump out. And at some point, I'll probably get pretty behind on the questions. Before we get into it, and I know it takes a few minutes for people to hop in, but I know most people watch the replay. Thanks for watching the replay. I see that you are all watching that, and that's fantastic. Leave a comment, say hello, hit the like button. It helps people find the video, and I like that. I have a fragile ego and I need people to watch these videos. I need to tell you about a couple quick things, and I'm just going to hit the quick sponsors really quick as people are hopping on. John is on and you could hear us, and other John. Everyone is named John today. So John Johnson, John Dabbs, David is on as well. So thanks, folks. Number one, sponsors. We have Odys Global. I'm going to roll an ad from them a little bit later. A featured domain. We have Ezoic and their product Leap. I have my Ezoic hat right here. I meant to put it on at least for a few minutes. So we have Ezoic and their product Leap. Helps your site load faster. You can get started with no minimum traffic levels. So you can hop in, start using their tools, start monetizing, and you can work your way up as you grow your site and get more traffic. So thank you to Ezoic. And finally, niche website builders, and you can save some money. I think 10% on any of the link building packages, and you can get 10% more content for any of the content packages, or if you order a done for you site. And I do have, this is a little bit of a teaser, I have some great, very fun content coming related to niche website builders. We're partnering on a little sprint of content where roughly I'm going to try and almost double the content on a specific site that I have that is out of the sandbox and getting some traction. So that'll be coming up. In fact, I was just talking with Mark and Adam in the last couple weeks about how the case study's going so far. So we're a few weeks in, and I haven't mentioned it yet because you need to do something before you get started talking about the case study. Otherwise, it's just a little boring. So those are a couple things, and we have one more, which is the Niche Lifestyle Show with Alex, who is here from WP Eagle. And of course, we also have Niche Website Builders. We just hang around and talk. So tomorrow it's going to be on my channel, and you can make sure you subscribe, hit a reminder, and make sure that you're aware of it. It'll be 8 a.m. Mountain Time, so a little early for me. Usually I'm up pretty early, but usually I'm walking the dog or doing some other stuff at that time. But we have this new show and it is live. We're going to be talking about mistakes tomorrow, which we've all made. And we want to hear your mistakes too. So be sure to come to the chat so you can tell us about silly mistakes that you've made in the past. So let's see what is going on in the chat here. Like I said, we have multiple Johns. John Johnson, we have David is on, Sebastian is here too, and we have Couch as well. So this is a pretty amazing group we have. And tomorrow we're going to be digging out a lot of these mistakes we made. So if you have any questions, do let me know. I just got back from a mountain resort town called Steamboat, and I went to a sort of like a little mini conference, almost like a retreat or something. It was associated with the Dynamite Circle, which is the entrepreneurship community. It's location independent entrepreneurs, and that is sort of spawned from the Tropical MBA podcast. Does anyone listen to the TMBA podcast? It's one of the first ones I ran across in 2013, and I still listen to it. I was actually just on it not too long ago, and it's a really cool group of people. And the thing is, like, the community has grown as we entrepreneurs, or as us entrepreneurs, the entrepreneurs that are members in that group, and the host of the show, Dan and Ian, they've grown their businesses, and some people are doing just insane things is what I'm getting at. A lot of e-commerce. I think there was a time where affiliate marketing was like one of the main venues that people were earning money. And then as the entrepreneurs matured, they went on to different areas and that sort of thing. So it was fantastic. I don't ski. A lot of people did go there to ski. And I've skied in the past. I've probably been 10 times or so over the years. And it's fine. I was actually getting better at it. But at some point, I was like, you know what? I don't enjoy it a ton. And it is kind of expensive. It's kind of a pain. Then eventually, I moved to these mountainous areas. So Bozeman, Montana actually has a lot of good skiing out there. And then here in the Front Range of Colorado, I mean, you're just a couple hours away from some of the world-class skiing around here. And I try not to wear black shirts because it's a dark background, and I got my Ezoic shirt on, so I'm just trying to get the little logo right there. All right, ask questions if you have it. John says this. I know you say you don't prefer one software over another, but what's my go-to for keyword research? Do I outline the content brief to writers? How many writers are you using now? All right, great. And it's the Tropical MBA podcast, by the way. Tropical MBA podcast. All right, so John has a series of questions. My go-to software for keyword research, KW Finder, is usually the one where I'm like doing pure keyword research. And then the other is Ahrefs, just because I'm in there often. Although I don't love their keyword research functionality overall. Not that it's bad or anything like that, but I just prefer like KW Finder, which is, is a keyword research tool first. Do I outline content and provide a brief to the writers? I have in the past. Currently, I am not. And that goes into the next question. How many writers am I using right now? Currently, I am working with an agency, and that's Niche Website Builders. And they're sponsoring the live streams. So part of it is the ease of not managing a full team, but I've had as many as, I think, maybe like 12 or 13 writers working for me at one time. And I think I had 2 content managers at that time. So it was like the right amount of content for the content managers to work with. So you just have to throttle it up. And I'm curious out there for people that are hiring their own writers directly, how many writers do you have? Thinking back, I'm pretty sure that Charlie, who published 1,000 articles in 2021, I think he had like 10 or 11 writers. So depending on how much work the writers are, like how much they want to do, how much they're able to do, you can potentially have, just 3 or 4 people, and then that'll kind of max out your budget. It just depends on how much they're charging and how much they want to work. With 10 or 11 writers, you can really get a lot out there. So currently I'm working with agencies just because it's easier and I don't have to manage the day-to-day. Wolin says, when appropriate, I would like to use internal hyperlinks to highlighted text. My point of view is that it's more useful for users, but how good or bad are links for SEO? I don't know. I've never thought about it, never tested it. I would guess it probably is a negligible amount of difference. And if you do it, It's probably not going to hurt anything. You might be able, if you put those internal links like that, those jump points, there's a chance that you can rank for those subheadings, for example, and maybe get a little snippet, because sometimes you could rank for the jump anchor links, if that makes sense. I'm not sure if I'm using the right terminology, but sometimes you could rank for those. John says, do I know where keyword research tools get their data? No. Do I know how accurate it is? No. I think back in the day, there was a company that, not that long ago, like a couple years ago, I think there was a company that had a number of Chrome plugins, and they would scrape data from users without their permission. And that company got shut down, as far as I know, because of that. Very insecure and not a great practice. So currently, I have no idea where companies get their data. Does anyone know that? I think if you start poking around and start asking and looking at the tools, I don't think it is very transparent. I don't think it's very transparent. And when we think about it, if that data was out there, we could just go and get it. So they have to buy the data from somewhere, and I don't know where they're doing it. All right. These are deep questions here, very tactical and very difficult to answer verbally. So John says, how much time do I spend doing competitor analysis and what methods? So first question, how much time do I spend doing competitor analysis? I am trying to think of the right way to quantify it. So number one, I'm not sure. And I would say I'm going to back into it. So maybe I do some keyword research and I'm checking out some competitors. So it's not all competitor analysis. Part of it is just keyword research. But as we're thinking about it, I would say maybe half of the time that I'm spending on keyword research is some sort of competitor analysis. And usually it is just taking a look at their keywords and how they're approaching the content to see if it's a good fit for my site as well. And that said, I don't spend a whole lot of time on keyword research. So I would say maybe like a couple hours per month or something. But I usually don't do like monthly keyword research or anything like that. I don't know if that's helpful. And then what methods do you use to analyze competitors? So usually there's two areas. So one is more on the front end. Say you're selecting your niche and you want to just see how competitive the landscape in that niche might be. So you would maybe look at their overall metrics, like their domain rating, their domain authority, some of the details like that, and just have a look quantitatively, look at the metrics, see what's out there. Those can get you in the right ballpark and you have an idea if they have a lot of links, you have an idea if the links are high quality or not. And from there, you would go deeper and look at the qualitative areas. So you would have a look at the length of the content, the quality of it, the searcher intent based on what the content is versus what the keyword is and what they're trying to do and what the searcher is actually trying to figure out. And that is generally what I look at. You can go a little bit deeper in certain areas, but essentially it's like, is this high quality content and how much do they have? And does the site have a lot of backlinks? So basically, you can look at the high level for the overall sites. And then as you're doing deeper keyword research, you might look more specifically at certain posts to see if that keyword phrase or that topic area is competitive or not. Another area you can look at just to see like how good their SEO is have a look and see if they have like content clusters around a certain topic. So maybe they cover some really competitive keyword phrase, and then they have like 20 supporting articles that are in that topic area. That kind of tells you that they know what they're doing from an SEO perspective. And if they're linking in a smart way, then you know that it might be a little more competitive because they know what they're doing. So those are the general, and I'm curious from other people. Number one, going back to the last question, does anyone know where the keyword research tools get their data? Anyone know that? And if anyone has suggestions on competitor analysis, throw them in the chat. John says, what is the value of a tool like KW Finder? Well, I'm not here to sell you on a tool. So if you don't want to use tools, that is totally okay. Really don't care. And some people are like, fuck keyword research, don't do it. It's a total waste of time. Sometimes they try to relabel it as something else, but essentially, like, it's a good idea to check to see if people are searching for it. So do I know where they get the data? These tools get their data? No. Do I know if they're accurate? No fucking clue. It does give you an idea though, relatively speaking, between one keyword phrase and another. So even if the numbers are not exactly right, usually if one keyword phrase gets like 10 times more searches from from the data given on a tool, if one is 10 times higher than the other, they probably search for this other term more than the low term. So, and by the way, Johnson, I don't think you were like pressing me like, hey, why should we use a tool? But generally it gives you an idea. So let's contrast that where maybe you're not getting the accurate keyword volume. If you don't do any keyword research and maybe you don't know much about the topic. So I'll give you two scenarios. So one, you start a blog and it's something that you're passionate about. And you're like, hey, I'm going to write these articles about this topic area. Let's say it's philosophy. And I'll give you a few. We'll do 3 scenarios. So you have philosophy, and then you start writing articles that are deep philosophical pieces, and you're not getting any traffic because people are not searching for some of the things that you're writing about, at least not the way that you're titling them and the way the content's written. So you're doing all this work and you're trying really hard, and then no one's showing up on your site because no one's searching for those things. Even though it could be wonderful content and maybe someone will discover it and realize you're a philosopher that is wise beyond your years, but we didn't know it. We didn't know it when you were around writing on your blog. And then the other scenario is you're passionate about something, but it's more tangible than philosophy. So maybe it's about cameras and stuff. And here's a big ass camera lens, and you're into it and you know about the topic area, the questions that people are asking, because like me, maybe you got into YouTube and you started learning more about cameras and you have a bunch of lenses and stuff. So the questions that you are asking, you're part of the community, and you actually can write content that people are interested in, and you don't do any keyword research. You just know some of the things that you search for, and the search volume doesn't matter much, and you're using like Google Auto Suggest to do your keyword research, or maybe you get ideas from YouTube videos in the same way. That could work out okay because you're part of the community. And like I said, it's a more tangible thing and you know what people are searching for. The other scenario is you start from brainstorming and then doing keyword research so that you can understand the keyword search volumes. While their estimates, they do give you some idea if there are hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands of people searching for it per month, or maybe it's just a few people per month for that specific topic. So the reason why you want to do keyword research is you would hopefully have an idea that people are actually searching for the stuff that you're writing about, and you're titling those posts and formatting them in a way that tells Google what the topic is for that page. So that is why you would potentially want to do keyword research. Again, one of the values of these live streams and shows is I do very little affiliate marketing for these. So I'm not pushing too much stuff. We have advertisers, right? I'm biased towards them. Ezoic, niche website builders, Odys, I'll talk about their stuff. But for the other tools, I'm an affiliate for KW Finder, but I truly don't care. I hope they're not listening. I don't care if you use their tool or some other one. And it's just a tool. Most of these things are commodities, like which hosting company. Not too long ago, someone was like, hey, you should ask everyone on your show what hosting company they use. But it's a commodity. That's an easy thing. Most hosting companies are fine. Like, unless it's a really cheap one, if you're paying a reasonable amount, your hosting company is probably fine. And so many of the tools are like that. Some people are really dogmatic about, hey, you got to use Thrive themes or whatever, or some other theme or tool. And typically those people they're getting paid on the back end somewhere. And it's probably an affiliate relationship, and they've entrenched themselves, and they've bought in too much to whatever the hype is, and then they just internalize it, and their credibility, I believe, is a little bit lower. It's okay if you're like super passionate about a certain like product or something, but if you're getting paid, it certainly brings into question what's going, like I said, themes. Some people are like, you got to use this theme. You have to do this. You have to do that. I mean, you don't even have to use WordPress if you don't want to. All right. So hopefully that helps. And John Johnson, feel free to ask follow-up questions. The quick summary is you can get a kind of an idea for search volume if you do some keyword research. All right. Vincent says, how do you take blog earnings from $500 to $1,000+ per month? So I think most likely you do more of, if you got to $500 per month, $1,000 per month is probably going to be easier to hit. Hands down. It'll probably be easier for you to get from 500 to 1,000 than it was for you to get from 0 to 100. So whatever you're doing to get to $500, do more of it. You may take a look and identify certain posts that are bringing in more money than others. Maybe you take a look at certain posts and see that they're bringing in more traffic than others. Maybe spend a little bit more time on those. So do more of what you're doing. Try to have a look, see what is successful, and then do more of what is successful. I feel like, is that a good answer? It's hard. Give me a gauge in the chat. Let's get some more conversation going in the chat, by the way. We got like 27 people in here. I'm one of them. I hit the thumbs up. You got to hit your own thumbs up. If you're not going to do it for yourself, then who will do it? So, and I'll take suggestions from the live studio audience here. If you know what it takes to get from 1,000 to 500, 500 to 1,000, let us know in the chat. Side note, got the guitar back here, the Gibson LG2. Last week, someone, I forget who it was, said, hey, you should play your guitar at the end. And I did for about a minute. But as soon as I finished, I jumped up and I hit stop because I stopped recording and I was cleaning stuff up down here. Because of the 30-second delay or so, I think the live audience only saw me play for like 10 seconds or something. So today, if people want, you can let me know in the chat. I'll play for a little longer and I'll try not to cut it off immediately after I start. I did forget to bring a chair, but whenever I run the ad, we can do that. I can move the chair. All right. So Vincent does say that you've published 100 articles and you have Ezoic and Amazon, and it could be niche related. Yeah, basically, it's very interesting, and especially when you're getting started. So it may not be super easy to hit your first $50 a month, but once you put in a little time, say about 6 months or so, 4 to 6 months, it's probably not crazy for you to hit that point where you're making $50 per month. And if you know how to make 50, it's not too much of a stretch to hit the 100. In fact, you're probably going to go from 50 to 100 much faster than you did to the first $50. Additionally, it's probably easier to hit the $1,000 from 100 than it was to make the first 100. Like it's very interesting how things escalate. And you put in a lot of work, but the delay is pretty long, especially if you're impatient. So if you can hit $500, Vincent, and you published 100 articles, there's a chance you're on a decent growth trajectory, and you just have to keep doing the same things that are working. And if you've shown up for a handful of these, you'll probably notice many of the questions go back to a couple main areas: adding content, publishing more content, improving content, and then getting backlinks or doing some kind of promotion. It all kind of revolves around those areas. So if you know that you've been publishing content, for example, and then you haven't been doing any promotion, and some people get a little nervous about link building. So maybe you can reframe it and take link building out of your head, and you're like, hey, I want to network within my niche and meet other bloggers and influencers that are on YouTube and Instagram and TikTok. And I want to make friends with them so that they know who I am. It's not specifically link building, but you're promoting your site to other people, which probably in the long run will lead to natural organic backlinks. So I think we need to reframe it in our head. I don't think it helps you out to sit in your room, bang away on your laptop, and never tell anyone about your site and just rely on Google. If you think about it as link building and it being risky, then you're probably adverse to it. But if you reframe it to networking, well, that just makes sense. Shit, that's why half of us are here too. Like we're in here, we're chatting about the topic that we're all interested in, and you get to know each other. And then you potentially can work together in the future or something like that. So as we think about the three main areas, it all goes back to those. And if you're neglecting one of them, you probably should go and do some of that. All right, let's see what other questions. So Minaj says, how to do keyword clustering. So probably, Google it. You'll probably find some good instructions, but generally you will have sort of these secondary keywords, and there's a blog post over at Niche Site Project. You'll have secondary type keywords or tertiary keywords about a topic, and then have usually a very deliberate linking strategy where maybe they can link to each other, all those secondary keywords. And then typically those are going to point to the main keyword that you're trying to rank, or the post that you're trying to rank. And that helps you build the topical relevancy. And then that is how you cluster those keywords. There's probably a couple other like nuanced things that you could do. That's the general idea. And you should check out a video or someone that's covered it more specifically. Okay. And then John says, it's a good start. Oh, sorry. It's a good answer, but that is to be determined on going from 500 to 1,000. That was me asking for the guitar, and the video seemed wonky. Yeah. So I'll try to play us out at the end today, although I didn't warm up my fingers ahead of time. So we'll have to see how it goes. Marcel says to start with the guitar. Smart. Yeah, because it takes a few minutes for people to get in here anyway. If I answered your question, please do hit the thumbs up. Leave a comment if you're watching it later. And Wolin says silos should only be made from pages with low competition main keywords. I don't agree with that. Or we should write supporting articles that won't rank? Question mark. I have a silo with 7 articles and only 2 of them are low competition. All right. This is a interesting way to word the question. They are statements with a question mark at the end. So I think I read that wrong. So I think you're asking, should we write supporting articles that won't rank or low competition keywords? I don't know. I haven't tested that specifically, but I would aim for the low competition keywords that potentially can actually rank. So I would go for that. Again, I didn't test this because I haven't tested the alternative, but let's think about this. If you have a link from a site, from a page that is ranking for the keyword that it's trying to rank for, is that better to get a link from a site that's ranking or a page that is not ranking? So do you want to get a link from a page that's ranking or a page that is not ranking? We probably want to get a page that is ranking. So it's easier to rank for the low competition keywords. So I would say probably go for that. And you say you have a silo with 7 articles and only 2 of them are low competition. I think that's okay. Maybe you can circle back and find some with higher competition, perhaps. Website technical, what's going on? And Chris says, great questions today. Have to drop for a work meeting. All right, see you later, Chris. And I did get your email, so thanks for sending that over when I asked him a question. Now, before I get to the next couple questions here, I have 2 podcasts. So one is in this topic area, affiliate marketing and such. It's called The Doug Show. There's a link in the description. I interview people, and sometimes I put the video on YouTube, but there are many other episodes that I don't put on YouTube. And generally, I love it when people subscribe and download the episodes for the Doug Show. So if you haven't checked it out and you do listen to podcasts, it's on all the major players out there. So would love it if you checked it out. And then my other podcast is called Mile High Fi. It is about personal finance and financial independence. And I think it's a show where at first I was going to say, if you're more advanced and you're making some money and you're trying to figure out what to do with your money, the Mile High Fi could be a good one to check out. But when it comes down to it, my co-host and I, Carl Jensen, he and I talk about reaching financial independence and the journey to financial independence. And essentially, even if you don't think you're very close to that point, it's a great show to listen to because it gets you in the mindset of getting your time back and not working for someone else and just being financially independent and sustainable for the long term. If you quit your job, that's the goal. You quit your job. Or if you're like, hey, I'm going to take a break from what I'm doing for like 3 years, I'm going to go travel, something like that. So Mile High Fi, we talk about financial independence and the journey to get there. We talk to people who haven't reached it yet. We talk to people that have already reached financial independence. My co-host, Carl, he retired, I think almost 5 years ago, 4 years ago or so. It could be almost 5. I can't remember. I didn't know him back then, but he's been retired for a bit. So would love it if you checked it out. That show is growing like crazy. We've been able to get some really good guests on that show. John says, I'm transitioning from affiliate to a hybrid of info and affiliate in the tech niche. Is there an estimate of earnings per 1,000 views from certain display ad companies like Mediavine, Ezoic, or AdThrive? I'm sure there is. I would go to one of the whatever company you're interested in. I would look at all of those, by the way. And see what estimates they give you. They all will have some data, I believe, about the earnings per 1,000 visitors. EPMV, people may see it listed. So they will have some data, some estimates on what you might expect. And of course, it varies from site to site. And I think the tech niche is probably pretty valuable overall. And they can give you a lot of great information. Again, I would check with each one of any company that you're considering. Go see what information they can provide you with. If That'll give you a chance to like start dealing with them and see if you like working with them. And again, I'm biased to Ezoic because I'm wearing their shirt and they sponsor these, but I would check with every company and make sure you have as much data as you can get. And John says, is there one better for tech? I have no idea. Minaj says, will the metaverse change things in the way we do SEO? I got to be honest with you. I don't know. I don't think anyone knows. I'm sure SEO will change. As far as the metaverse, I am largely unaware. I've watched a couple of short videos where people talk about the metaverse, but I'm not very informed and I'm even less interested in it. I'm certainly at a point where I'm trying to, I say it all the time. My goal is not to sit in front of my computer and bang on this keyboard here. My goal is to be away from the computer. My goal is to be outside and spend time with people and family and friends and not continue to toil away at this stuff. So that's why the financial independence stuff is so important. When you're sort of free from that, which is an absolutely fortunate place to be in, but if you're free from that, then it doesn't matter as much. But when I look at the metaverse and I look at how I feel after I look at Instagram and other stuff on the phone here, I'm like, I can't wait to move away from it and just not worry about it. And I usually on Instagram, I'm looking for, I mean, I'm following like dog stuff and guitar stuff and like fun things. But even then, it's just like scroll, scroll, scroll. I'm wasting time. I don't feel good about it afterwards. It's just like freezing my mind up. Or I feel great after I go walk outside and it could be something else for you. I'm not saying everyone needs to go outside and do stuff, but you probably have a hobby that is not related to sitting and watching your phone. So I would say I'm uninterested in the metaverse and probably, I mean, I'm getting old. I know there's a lot of younger people in the audience, but I'm getting old. There's a lot of other old people. I'm like 42, right? So there's some old people like me. I'm Gen X actually. So I'm at the very tail end of Gen X, but I hang out with older people and I had an older sibling. So I am definitely more on the Gen X side, not a millennial. Although I know some people that are, 1 year younger than me and they're like identify as a millennial, but I always hung out with older people generally. So anyway, metaverse, I don't know. I don't think anyone knows. I do know that SEO will change in the future. It always has. Will it matter on the metaverse side? Maybe. I have no idea. If people have an idea, if people or is anyone sort of investing and spending time metaverse wise? And oh, Dan, what's going on? It has been a while. Good to see you, buddy. And the other part is I watched the interview with Zuckerberg on Lex Friedman, which was very good. And I was surprised that Zuck seemed fairly reasonable and he was kind of amusing. And I didn't have a major issue with him, which I wanted to. I hate Facebook. So the point is, he seemed okay. He didn't seem as crazy as you might think. But I don't really care about the metaverse. I may change my mind in the future. But it's a big world out there, and it probably, you know, I think I think it could shift a little bit. And Facebook and Zuckerberg, they've been really good at shifting, like buying Instagram, right? Otherwise, Facebook would probably be a lot more irrelevant. And they own WhatsApp too, right? All right. Wolan says, thanks for your answers. How wise is it to make one season related affiliate niche website? For example, winter. So, how wise is it? I think, whatever you want to do is fine. Just know it's seasonal. So, if you're really into a specific thing, it's probably totally fine to just move forward with that. If you know it's seasonal, then it's okay. You could just plan for it. I personally try to avoid seasonal niches, at least like the pure seasonal ones. There are some that might be seasonal and you don't realize it until you get into it. And those could be, it could be something completely unrelated to a season. And I'm trying to think of a good example that you wouldn't necessarily assume. Oh, maybe I have like notebooks and little journals and stuff like that. So you may not think, right, a journal is going to be seasonal in any way because people are not necessarily doing it in the summer or winter or anything like that. However, people might want to be more productive in the new year, and they may set New Year's resolutions that are productivity related, and a journal might be in that category. So you might find that you sell a lot more journals in December and January because people are planning on being more productive in the coming year. So inherently, it doesn't have anything to do with seasonality, but when you look at the motivation for why people might buy it, it could be very related, very tied to and correlated with some seasonal event. So as far as is it wise to do it? It could be super profitable. You might make 10 times more overall working on a seasonal niche than you would on a non-seasonal niche. I don't know. I mean, it depends on like so many factors, but it just is something to be aware of. There's nothing inherently wrong with being in a seasonal niche, though. Ariel, what's happening? We're going to be chatting tomorrow. If people haven't watched the case study that we're working on together, we have a couple updates. There's a couple blog posts that Ariel wrote for me over on Niche Site Project, and we're doing the February update. We're actually recording it tomorrow, so that'll be good. And we're going to be getting into potentially pivoting, which I'm a little. We'll see how it goes. I'm not necessarily surprised, but we have real-time data coming in and we have to make a decision. So we're going to be talking about that tomorrow, and there's a good chance that I'm going to be publishing it kind of early. So one thing that has happened on the Doug Show is I have a lot of content. I've been doing a ton of interviews. I have these 2 case studies, which I try to make them a bit timely. So once I do the interview, I try to publish it before too much time passes, especially like with Christy and Ariel, for example. And then I do interviews along the way. And then I try to do some solo episodes where I just, honestly, I just talk about myself. I mean, it's called the Doug Show, right? It's purely self-indulgent. So you got to check out the show. Going to be talking to Ariel tomorrow. Probably going to be publishing it this week, actually. So I'll probably throw out an extra episode, which I do occasionally. And yeah, I'll come back to the Doug Show in a second because there's some sort of interesting couple things with it. John says, do I have any thoughts on third-party cookie issues and how it might impact earnings for ad sites? I don't. So I don't spend too much time in the speculation area. Maybe I should. It's probably about 50% of the questions that I get each week. I don't know. Will it impact the earnings? Most likely. This cookie shift is going to be, it's going to make things change. How will it change? I don't know. I have no idea. There's still going to be the same, I assume there's still going to be the same advertising dollars out there. And I assume there's still going to be people searching and visiting these websites. So I think it'll probably end up being okay. Everyone's going to be fine. How's it going to work out? Don't know. If anyone has any predictions, certainly write them in the chat, and we can share them here. All right, I'm gonna hit the ad here in a second from Ezoic. Let my voice rest a little bit here. Thanks everyone for hopping on. We got 36 folks on, and I think this time period seems to work a little bit better than some of the others. So I'm gonna let my voice rest here, and then we'll be right back. Word from Odys. There's a source for premium age domains, and you can get a $400 bonus for the spring. In the springtime, birds are singing. We just moved our clocks forward here in the US, and from March 14th through the 31st, you can get $400 into your account. So that'll help out. That'll help out quite a bit. The featured domain for today is preparedresponse.com, and this is an old company that used to provide courses and training and advice in crisis management, emergency preparedness, and generally those kind of things. And you get this nice little logo here where there's 4 intertwined hands appearing to work together. This domain is pretty old, from the year 2000, so it's 22. The domain rating is 13. The domain authority is 26. And if we have a quick look over here on Ahrefs, you can see there are 182 referring domains, and 109 of them are do follow. And they had a little blip here if you look a little bit closer in that backlink profile. And then the organic traffic has been up and down over the past few years. And when we dive in and look at the do follow links, we see glassdoor.com, Oregon Live, CB Insights, KCRW. I can't read today. I won't try to read any more of these. I'm better with words like Sharp School or The Journal or crosscut.com versus saying letters out loud. But the thing is, with a domain like this, you can definitely follow sort of the survival route, the preparedness route. With the pandemic in the last couple of years, there's a lot of people that are thinking a little bit harder about that and how they're prepared. So I think there are many different routes, from just putting out content in an informational way, but there are many, many courses on these topics. So you could be an affiliate for such courses, and digital products are probably the best thing you could be an affiliate for. And after that, you potentially, if you were into this, you could create your own courses, which would raise the margin much higher. So certainly worth checking out. It does have a high price tag here, but it is an old domain, and it's, virtually impossible to recreate something like that, especially with the age. There's no way you can get that, I guess, lifetime of long links that are pointing to your site. Tough sentence to say. Don't forget, you can get $100 in your account if you use my affiliate link, which I greatly appreciate. And they are doing this $400 bonus for the next couple weeks. So if you had your eye on something, definitely check it out. You can follow the link in the description to get more information. And let's get back to the show. All right. We are back, and we have a few more questions to hit. And I did pull up the chair for my little concert later. It looks like I got a little bit darker here. Let's fix that up. All right. John, so many Johns. So John says, absolutely enjoying walks on the beach and time away from the computer for clarity. John also feels concerned that the kids are hooked on and unable to focus, afraid of making mistakes. Yeah. I mean, isn't that just kids either? I mean, they did grow up with it, but I mean, if you have a look with like all generations throughout, right? And I'm thinking of like my parents' age, like they are hooked on their phones as well. And I've seen this again and again with the senior citizen group. And actually, let me know in the chat, have you guys observed that too? They are hooked, keep scrolling, and they don't have as many sort of time demands potentially. So they have no reason to be like hustling around and doing other stuff. So they're just like on their phone constantly. And again, just people our age, it's hard for people to focus um, in general. I mean, the phone is literally like there are very smart engineers and psychologists that only work on trying to distract us further. So, all right. And I feel like I'm a tad out of focus here. Let's get it a little sharper. All right. We got a couple more. Share Card says, "Hi, thanks for the helpful videos, Doug. Your question is off topic. What do I think about Google Web Stories? Is it worth it? Is there any success stories?" You know what? I don't know what Google Web Stories are. Can anyone tell me? I know what all those words are, but I haven't run across it and I don't know. So I would say you're probably all right if you just ignore it as well, but who knows? Ru Shin says, "How many hours do you work on a daily basis?" Probably about on a quote daily basis, probably about 4 or so, 4 to 6. And whoa, you think I work? All right, this thing is not focusing on me. Let's go back to manual here. There we go. So I work about 15 or 20 hours a week, something like that. Some weeks I'll work longer, some days are a little bit longer. So, for example, tomorrow I'll do probably closer to 7 or 8 hours because I'm doing a live stream with Alex and Mark and Adam at 8 a.m. So don't miss it. It'll be on this channel. So be sure you're subscribed. So I'm going to be doing that. And then I'm recording a podcast for Mile High Fi. And then I'm interviewing Marty McLeod for the Doug Show. And then I have another interview with Ariel. So I have probably about 4.5 hours of like straight up interviews for tomorrow. And I'm probably not doing anything else aside from like just making sure a couple of emails are done. Now, the other part is I usually take Mondays and Fridays off generally. Not always. Sometimes I do an interview on one of those days for people that have a more constrained schedule, but on my calendar, Mondays and Fridays are blocked off. I haven't worked 10 hours a day on a regular basis in a very long time. That is not something I want to do. And then project management system, I use Trello. I used Asana early on, but it wasn't as usable. I think they've changed things. It's been several years since I've used Asana. Asana is totally fine. You can use spreadsheets. I'm not big on any specific tool, but I do use Trello for, there's another screen up there. So I have my Trello board up and I have YouTube videos. I have both podcasts on Trello, and it's just very easy for new people to use Trello. I think, again, Asana is probably okay. And they've probably changed some of the things that were a little more confusing. So new people can use it easier, but Trello is like just dead simple to use. So I use that and I don't work too many hours. Minaj says seasonal affiliate sites may be profitable. We can see different seasons in the North and Southern Hemisphere. True. Yeah. Masher's on. What's going on? We got guys here as well. And Alex over at WP Eagle is commenting on the Odys domain that was a little pricey, but good for the survival niche. Alex, are you going live? Are you going live after in a few minutes here? You may be gone already even. All right. John says, thanks. And Chai Boozer says, you missed it, but you'll drop some questions later. Very cool. Ariel says, you can't get your mom off of Facebook. Yeah, it is pretty tough. Oh, and we got a super sticker from John, and it's a it's a verbal description here. So it's a lemon character waving goodbye while winking and sending a shooting star. So that is what it is. I'm looking over on my other screen. Oh yeah, I see. It is a lemon character waving and sending a shooting star. Thanks a lot. Appreciate that. All right. Any other questions out there? Any other questions? Don't forget, over on Odys, you can get $400 until the end of the month. So March 31st, they're doing a little bonus, and I think you can stack the deal. So if you join using my affiliate link, you get $100 in your account, and I think you can stack them. So don't quote me on it. I could be wrong, but I think you can put those together. And there are domains that are much cheaper. So the one we showed today was over $10,000. However, there are several that are younger. They may even have more links, but they can be younger. Maybe it's a less competitive niche. Maybe it's a younger site, so it's not so expensive. So if you put all that together, you can end up with an age domain at a very reasonable price. So have a look over there. They have a very good search mechanism overall. So one thing I was going to tell you, I teased a little bit about the Doug Show. So I have tons of episodes, and I try not to like do an interview and then publish the interview like 3 months later. I try to do it a little more timely, but sometimes it's a bit hard. And actually going back to like how many hours a day do I work? Some days it's a little bit longer, but usually it's pretty tight. Usually I can do like the 4 to 6 hours or so, and that keeps me a little busy, but not too much. And it gives me time to do a lot of other things. But when I was pulling together some episodes for the beginning of this year in January, I was talking to a lot of entrepreneurs that were more advanced. There was one of my friends, she retired essentially at age 27 through real estate. So she's still technically working. So retiring is a little bit, it's a phrase that people have a hard time with sometimes, but she quit her full-time job. She had some real estate, and then she started working online in some capacity as well and has online courses. So she still works, but she effectively retired and takes large amounts of time off. So I was doing these interviews, which are very inspirational, but they're not like in the core of what we're talking about, where we're looking at keyword research and competitor analysis and topical relevancy and clusters and all that stuff. So it just happened to be the interviews that I had lined up. And then in February, I started going back to our roots here, all those topics that I mentioned, and the downloads have shot up. They've essentially doubled. They dropped a little in January, but it grew a ton in February, and we're keeping it up. So I appreciate everyone that downloads the episodes. Even if you watch them on here, I can tell that people are sharing it, which I love. And, we're doing interviews like I did Bennett. We got Charlie on, who published 1,000 articles in 2021. Bennett, he's making like $1,600 per month from his site where he didn't even choose a niche. And he sent me a message the other day. Something popped on his site. So there's a strong chance he's earning, I think I forgot the exact number, but he's making a lot more money. Just one of his posts like jumped in the rankings. So his traffic has gone through the roof and his earnings have gone through the roof. And he is about to graduate from college. So he's still in college and he's paid off all his debt. So we're doing like these interviews that are in our core topic area, and it's showing. So if you have the opportunity to tell people about it, please do. I really appreciate it. Okay. John says, I've been concentrating on topical relevance and creating clusters in your niche, and you've had great success. You got a number 3 spot in one day on a small post, and you stepped away from using AI. John says, I can write better without AI. Yeah, I think that is probably a good move. I mean, I think from a long-term perspective, people that are not using AI are going to end up in a better spot. And Gaz says, you caught Ricky's video on Google indexing API. You spent a great deal of time writing some long content. I'd be devastated if I got penalized. What's my take? I have no real context on the Google indexing API. I don't know why you would get penalized if you wrote long form content. So there must be some piece in there. I would be very surprised if you got penalized for writing long form content, but I'm certain that I'm missing and I don't understand exactly what you're asking. I didn't watch Ricky's video, so I really am unsure. So I have no take. And guys, thank you. He says the Doug shows are great and that you love them. Thanks very much. John says, can I talk about topical clusters or topic clusters and topical relevance as structure? You put your FAQs in your post, not at the bottom. I don't know. I mean, I think number one, like a lot of the questions that we get in, since I haven't tried this, I don't know. I don't even have anecdotal support. But when I get questions like this and we're like, hey, what's the best way to make sure we don't lose anything on the SEO front? And this is something, right? So to Gaz's point, like Google changes their mind on certain things. So what you're saying here is you put your FAQs through the post and not at the bottom. So my advice for everyone is if you're in a situation where you're like, I'm not really sure, just forget Google for a second and think about someone searching for whatever phrase that you're trying to rank and where their mind space is and what would be most helpful and most logical for them. I've gone through this again and again where I'm like, okay, Google likes long form content. Let's combine a few posts, put all this in one post and have like essentially an ebook. It's like 15,000 words. Let's put it all together. That didn't really work. Or maybe it jumped in rankings and then it dropped back down. And then I'm like, all right, let's pull everything apart and see if that works better. And maybe a couple things worked out, but that didn't work either. So I was like, I don't know what to do. The content is good. So why don't I just organize it in the best way that I can? And at the end of the day, some portions of it rank, but from where I sit, I've organized it I've organized it in a way that is most easily consumable for someone that's looking for it. So that's all I can do. Google will change what they want. They want long form, they want shorter form, they want little videos to go along with it. And you could chase your tail a lot trying to figure out that stuff. Not that it's not worthwhile, it's not something that I find enjoyable. Over the weekend, I mentioned that I was at this retreat with location independent entrepreneurs, and I met this guy, Gerbs, and he has a podcast called BitLift, and he does crypto full time. He had a software company back in the day, I believe, sold it, and he's doing really well with crypto. And someone asked him, hey, how many hours do you put into this? Because he really is doing it full time. So he's like, he has a strategy and he has SOPs around everything. And he said, I have no idea. I have no clue how much time I'm spending on it, but I love it. I'm obsessed with it and I work on it until it's done. And I mean, he travels a lot and does a lot of things, but he spends a lot of time on it and he thinks about it. He talks about it all the time and he loves it. So I don't find should I put my questions at the bottom versus the middle? Like I'm not interested enough to actually like run a test and look at data side by side. So if you have it in your post, you know what? People will probably find it. If you organize it in a way that you think is helpful for your visitors, that's good. I think that's all you can do. Can you get a little, percentage boost if you do things the perfect way? I'm certain of it. Is it worth it? Only you can figure that out. It might be worth it if you're interested. Sometimes, if you're doing enough business, a small percentage increase can actually be worth it. It just depends on what you want to spend your time and thoughts on. Jason's on. What's going on? Bradbury is on too. And Gaz says, if you're having indexing problems, Google has an API that instantly indexes, but it's supposed to be for certain content, jobs, news, current affairs that need to be indexed immediately. Google are saying not to use it for normal content. You could get penalized, but some people are using it. Yeah. So great. Thanks, guys, for laying out the context. And my hunch is, so number one, I know a lot of people are having troubles with indexing. And, one of my sites, one of my more recent sites, my newer sites, I had trouble with indexing for a little while. And I was publishing a lot of content and getting backlinks, but it still took a little while to get out of the sandbox and for things to get indexed in a more speedy process, I guess. So in this case, I would probably not worry about it. And so many of the questions that we get are, can I expedite this in any way? Holy shit, nobody asked about AI writers today. Thank the Lord. So people are asking like, hey, can I use an AI writer? No one asked. For the love of God, don't ask about it. But people are like, hey, can I do a shortcut? Hey, Google is not indexing things fast enough for me. Why don't I use the API that's intended for something else? I think you could probably use it. Will Google penalize you? I don't know. Google hasn't really been super friendly to SEOs who do things that they say not to do, but a lot of people are very successful not listening to what Google suggests. So this is a risk management situation. So it's totally up to you if you wanted to use it. I would stay away from it. Like I said, I had a newer site that wasn't indexing very effectively. And then it got out of the sandbox and things seemed to get indexed and rank very quickly. So I feel like generally it probably only impacts these younger sites. And Josh, coming through big. What about AI writers? All right, you jokers out there. We made it. And then I had to bring it up. And it's all my fault. All right. Any other questions out there before we wrap it up? I'm trying to think what I'll play here. I'll be right back. I got to get my finger pick here. People used to ask if it was like a fake studio and or a fake background, but yeah, it's all real. It's all real back here. All right. Yeah, Bradbury says, don't suggest that they are spinners. I think the AI writers, if anyone has one of the spinners, run a test, just put in the same inputs and see what you get from it. I don't know. People seem to like the AI writers, but it's a tough sell for me. Again, it all comes down to shortcuts. Best case scenario, they work for a bit and then someone else does the same thing, but just writes the content a little bit better, and they outrank you because the AI writer content is gibberish. But some people are using it. In fact, Ariel and I are probably going to talk about it because she uses them in her content and seems to be doing pretty well. So I think there's the right way to use it and the wrong way to use it. All right, I think that's it. Thanks, everybody. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you're not, and support the advertisers, support the supporters of the show. Okay, one more question is John says, do I think there's a sandbox for a domain that's been dormant for a while? I could believe that. I think, maybe you have to get back out there and start publishing more content, um, particularly for a domain that has been dormant and doesn't get any traffic. I think if you have a dormant domain and it's getting traffic and it's ranking for stuff, then my hunch is you're probably going to be able to like spawn it up a little more quickly. But if you have a site, has a bunch of content, never got much traffic, I bet you have to like push it up a little bit harder. Sean, okay, now we got some hate for the AI writers. So Sean Little says AI writers are 100% spinners. Oh, Leon's on. What's going on, buddy? I haven't seen you around in a bit. And Gaza says, you have no choice. You know more about the niche than any AI. So true. I think that's what it comes down to. Okay, we got a wrap here. Let me, I think I should lower. And I'm just going to play for like a minute or so here. Lower it down just a touch. Boom. And yeah, I think Alex is probably doing a live right now. That's my guess. Hopefully not too much background noise. And yeah, there was a request last week, and I think like with the 30-second delay, I only played for like 10 seconds before stopping it. So, and I've been working on my thumb picking. I'm a little nervous because now people are watching, We got some requests for Garth Brooks. I don't know that, but yeah, people should definitely check out Alex. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else I can play just right off the top of my head. I could just goof around a little. I'm just going to end up playing the same thing again, which could be a little bit boring, but I mean, there's still people watching, amazingly. Let it go like 30 seconds here.